Hi there, Damian Marks with Stonehouse Realty here, and today we're going to be talking about some of the forms that you will see in just about any real estate transaction that you make here in British Columbia. So whether you're buying or selling, you will come across these, and it is important that you know what you're being asked to sign through this entire process. So without much further ado, let's dive into it, and our first form is going to be the privacy and consent form. This form is provided by the Real Estate Association of British Columbia. A few of the key points of this form include, but are not limited to, the consent to collect your information, how your information is going to be used, your rights, and lastly, how your information is protected. Why does this all matter? It matters because it's important that you understand how your information is going to be used in this process and that we're fully transparent about it. I hope this quick explanation of the privacy consent form has made things a bit clearer. The whole objective of this is to make everything as clear and transparent as possible. So if you have any other questions about this form, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm here to be a resource for you. Now on to the next one. The next form we're going to be talking about is the Disclosure of Representation in Trading Services, or otherwise known as the DORT. This form outlines the different kinds of representation you will see in a real estate transaction. The two main ones you're going to see are you're either represented or unrepresented. And you might be asking, well, what's the difference between the two? If you are represented, the agent who is representing you owes you full duties. Now that is loyalty, the obligation to avoid conflict of interest, full disclosure. And when I say full disclosure, I mean anything that could affect your decision in the real estate transaction. Another aspect of the DORT talks about conflict of interest. Most commonly, you will see this in a transaction where the buyer is coming in unrepresented, and so essentially the listing agent is acting for both parties. However, you can obviously see how there is a conflict of interest here. That agent has agency with the sellers and has to work in their best interest. So you as a buyer, how can you possibly get the best service that you're owed, as well as somebody negotiating on your behalf if somebody already has those obligations to the seller when you and the seller do have some opposing interests, right? The seller wants to get the best terms and the highest price they can get, and you as the buyer want to get terms and conditions that are more in your favor, as well as, the lowest price you can get. So once again, really important to get representation and somebody working in your corner. Okay, and the next form we're going to talk about is the Property Disclosure Statement, or otherwise known as the PDS. The PDS is a form that asks a series of questions that the sellers, to the best of their knowledge, must fill out and answer honestly. The PDS covers things like the roof, plumbing, electrical systems, and any other structural damages or issues that they may be aware of. Now, one key caveat to this form is to the best of the seller's knowledge. If they know, they know, and if they don't, they don't, and they're not required by law to investigate further. Commonly, you will also see PDS, or property disclosure statements, left blank on properties that are tenanted because the seller doesn't live there and thus doesn't have accurate, up-to-date knowledge of the property. The PDS also covers things like renovations that were done to the home. For example, was the plumbing updated? Were there any changes made to electrical? If so, was that work done with permits? This is important stuff for the buyer to know because it could create issues down the road if it wasn't, especially concerning insurance liabilities. And as a seller, it's important to answer these questions to the best of your knowledge, because if there are issues down the road and you were found to have knowingly been dishonest in your answers, sellers could also be liable for this. Now, the PDS is just a snapshot into the home's current condition to the best of the knowledge of the seller and is not a replacement for a home inspection. So anytime you are making a real estate transaction, specifically a purchase, you're going to want to make sure you do get a home inspection, because that's going to give you a much better idea to the overall condition of the home. And last but certainly not least, we're going to be talking about the Contract of Purchase and Sale, or what's otherwise known as the CPS. The CPS is going to have a lot of information on it and really deserves its own video for a deeper dive, so we're just going to scratch the surface on it today. The CPS will include items like who are the parties involved in the transaction. We want it very clearly laid out who the buyers and sellers are involved in this. It will also have property information and, not limited to, purchase price, deposit, completion, and possession dates. Completion is when the financial transaction happens, and possession is when you get the keys and can move in. It will also include the terms and condition of the purchase and sale, and will commonly include your subjects. Now, subjects are conditions that either buyer or sellers may have as a condition of the purchase or sale. Common subjects include financing, home inspection, property disclosure statement, title, and for strata properties, a summary of the strata insurance as well as the strata documents. And the strata documents will include items like the Form B, strata minutes, depreciation report, balance sheets, financial sheets, among other items. I know there was a lot of information there and there's a whole lot more to go over, so keep your eyes peeled for the next video because I will be doing one specifically about the contract to purchase and sale. Hey, and if you like this information, please subscribe and give me a like, and stay tuned for the next video.